And let's bring in the television voice of your Sacramento Kings and the voice of the NBA. He's doing a ton of NBA playoff games. Mark Jones joining us here. Jason Ross and Jay Mars. Mark, how are you?
I'm great, man. Like you said, it's a fun time of the year with playoffs and keeping busy, man. Airports, hotels, and playoff charts, you know?
Yes, I know you did a lot of Phoenix and New Orleans. You did the Warriors and Nuggets. What's your next game you have on your agenda?
You know, it's a fun time of the year. I wake up in the morning and hit my email refresh button about 84 times before 8 a.m., still waiting to find out what the assignment is. There's so many kind of possible scenarios when you get deeper. Yeah, when you get deeper into the playoffs, you know, if there's going to be more than one game 6 on Friday, I'll be working a Friday night game 6 somewhere. And if there's going to be two or three, then that is another scenario. But probably looks like just a Friday Sunday double dip for me this week.
Wow,
still to be determined. Yeah,
I was going to say
get a game one. Probably get a game one Sunday somewhere.
Okay, I know you are a pro. You've done this forever. You know all the teams. But what's the latest you've found out an opponent's or a matchup you've had to get you time, obviously, to the airport and then to prep?
Man, sometimes it's the night before, depending on the outcome of the game. Yeah, our production crew will be cooling our heels in a hotel somewhere, whether it's, you know, Memphis or New York or wherever we may be over the years, and watch the end of the game and then get an email a moment later from our production coordinator and get on the phone with the emergency travel department after midnight, book flights and hotels and, you know, on a plane a few hours later in the morning with a lot of espresso in me, you know. Yeah, it's fun though, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of crazy, but it's fun, especially the deeper you go into the playoffs, where you're kind of figuring out where you're gonna go. But you know, just you keep an eye on all the games to make sure that you know, I'm well versed in what's going on, and you know, I watch all the games anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Mark Jones joining us this morning. Mark, you know, one of the fun series you've been able to cover, and to me the funnest team to cover right now, has been the Golden State Warriors. I'm just going to ask you straight up, is this a team we should be talking about more as a true blue title contender this year?
Oh, definitely. They've got to be, you know, one of the great stories of the playoffs so far, the way that they came out in the first 3 games in particular. And even though the 4th game, it took everything that Denver had to avoid the sweep. The way that, you know, Clay is back. He's back to the shooting and defending Clay pretty much that we've seen over the years. Draymond Green is quarterbacking the offense and defense to the point where, you know, when I was speaking with Draymond a couple of days ago, he looked at me like, Mark, man, he said, this kind of starting to feel like 2015 again, the way that they're rolling. And now they've got, you know, Steph firing on all cylinders coming off the bench. Jordan Poole, who 2 years ago last year was 3rd team All-G League, and now is option 1A, 1B, or 1C, depending on how you want to look at it. They're loaded, man. And Wiggins playing his role as a defender, you know, shot the 3 ball at an all-time career high for him, filling in a lot of the gaps. And you know, they got Looney taking his 2 fouls against Joker and making him work a little bit and then handing him off to Draymond defensively. Golden State has it popping on both ends of the floor. The number 2 rated defense in the NBA. They'd have been number 1 if Draymond wasn't hurt for those 30-something games and missed that. And offensively, you saw what they did against Denver. I mean, poor Jokic, man. They got the MVP running around 3-point line chasing Steph Curry. I mean, it's just not a fair fight. You know, he's getting his numbers, but no impact. And they've looked lethal, man. I mean, lethal. And then, you got Gary Payton coming off the bench, right? Gary Payton, GP2, coming off the bench, knocks down 3 threes in Game 3. And they're finding bonus points from sources that they probably never envisioned. And they can play so many different ways, you know, using Payton as a short roll, 4-5 in the post. You know, they've got a lot of the same actions that Steph Curry runs with Draymond. Jordan Poole is now running those same actions that he's had a chance to perfect with Draymond, and Clay's being Clay. So, man, I'm looking at Phoenix still in that series. Phoenix and Golden State probably still going to meet in the West. Although, if it's Golden State, Memphis has proven in the past that they can make the Warriors work.
Talking with Mark Jones here. Mark, you'd be the perfect one to ask about this and kind of connecting it to the Warriors, because this does connect then to the Kings in their coaching search. There's some Warrior connections here, whether it's Mike Brown. Kenny Atkinson was a name that was on the list for Kings, now seemingly is off. And then Mark Jackson, who used to coach the Warriors, who you've had a chance to work with, kind of tying it all into one. Your thoughts on Mike Brown, and then certainly Mark Jackson as a potential coach of the Sacramento Kings?
Yeah, two great candidates, man. When I look at Mark's strengths, he's, I think, a guy that is really great at connecting and leading, and, sees the game through a point guard prism. And guys, we all know the story, the way that he was the one that really set the blueprint and the culture there at Golden State and got that thing turned around with the early days of Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Even Steve Kerr admits that and gives full credit to Mark Jackson being able to establish that. Mark has a way of dissecting the game. Having worked with him, has a brilliant basketball mind at both ends of the floor. So I think, he'd be a wonderful candidate. And Mike Brown, for a team like Sacramento that, could be better at the defensive end over the last couple of years. Let me just put it this way. Mike Brown took a team that had LeBron, Anderson Varejao, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Sasha Pavlovich, and Boobie Gibson, and took them to the finals. Okay? Okay. He took that group to the NBA finals. A 22-year-old LeBron. So,
yeah.
Mike has a lot of great, I think a lot of his talents are overlooked with Golden State, even though he's the guy that runs their number 2 rated defense. They were number 1 for most of the year before, like I said, Draymond got hurt. And Mike has a great feel for the game at the offensive end as well. People talk about, what he's done defensively, offensively. Mike has a good mind and has worked with star players, which gives him great perspective. You know what I mean? He knows how to handle people. He's a great people manager as well as I think game tactician. So either of those guys would be great candidates. When you look at Monty McNair and what he's done so far, and being able to turn over the roster at the trade deadline, 6 new players, starting to kind of upheave the culture, and it needs a bit of a change, right? We all know that Monty has hit on his first 2 draft picks, right? With Tyrese and with Davion Mitchell, was able to turn Tyrese into a 2-time All-Star, and Sabonis. This is an important pick for him, and you can say that honestly he's trending in the right direction with what he's done so far.
Mark, another guy I just wanted to pick your brain on real quick that hasn't had an NBA head coaching opportunity yet, but has got rave reviews for, the amount of assistant coaching he's done and in the G League, is Darvin Ham. For those that aren't familiar with Darvin, can you give, people kind of a perspective, because I think he's a dark horse for this job and could be potentially a great coach in the NBA. Yeah,
Darvin has done a lot of work. He's a lot of the backbone of Milwaukee's success over the last couple of years. He's a Giannis. He's Giannis's whisperer in many ways. Darvin has been up for a bunch of jobs. He interviewed for the Indiana job last year, the Chicago job before Billy Donovan got it. He's been making the rounds and is highly thought of, and has a brilliant basketball mind as well. I think when you talk about being able to connect with players, that's one of his strengths. Great at skills and development, and has an innovative look at the offensive end. When you look at his background being with Bud and both Coach Budenholzer in both Atlanta and now in Milwaukee, and is highly thought of. I think Darvin would be a great pick. Has a wonderful sideline disposition too. I've seen him throughout the years come up. He actually came close to scoring that Texas Tech job where he went to school and played back before that was in the last round of college interviews. But I think he's got to be considered in the top 5 in terms of hot names out there. and I think it'd be a great call as well.
Well, as you said, Mark, it's going to be a critical hire for Monty McNair. We all know we want the Kings to turn this thing around and be in the playoffs like you've been able to call these games. We thank you for joining us. We wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you get that assignment as soon as possible so you can be ready for the weekend. Mark, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bags are always packed, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Great work, guys.
Appreciate it. That's Mark